per se. You and Fitz were very fired up about this last week, so I'm going to let you go first. It sounds like the Chicago Bears, by about the middle of the next decade, will be playing football in a new stadium in Hammond, Indiana.
So I understand that the New York Giants and the New York Jets, they don't play in New York. They play in New Jersey. The LA Rams and the LA Chargers, they don't actually play in LA. They play in Inglewood, California. The San Francisco 49ers, they don't actually play in San Francisco. They play in Santa Clara. The Buffalo Bills, they don't actually play in Buffalo. They play in Orchard Park. The Cleveland Browns aren't going to be playing in Cleveland for much longer. They're going to be in Brook Park. I understand all that. Trust me, I get it. But Chicago, I believe, is the third largest market in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken.
I would guess you're right, by New York and LA. It has to.
Okay. So that team has been synonymous with the city of Chicago for years, longer than I've been alive. You know, we have the 85 Bears, one of, if not the most dominant defenses in NFL history. Devin Hester, Brian Urlacher, Mike Ditka, Walter Payton. I could keep going on and on. They have one of the most storied histories in the NFL. They are part of the NFL fabric. There's a reason that the 100th season in the NFL back in 2019 opened in Chicago between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. The Bears belong in Chicago, in the state of Illinois. And I know it's not official, but if they move to Hammond, Indiana, sure, it's still within Chicago city limits, I guess, but it just would not feel right to me. Again, I understand the Giants and the Jets both are called New York, but they play in New Jersey. The 49ers, they don't actually play in San Francisco. I already mentioned all this. I understand it. But it just doesn't sit right for the Chicago Bears to play in Indiana. Like, that doesn't sit well with me. And let's say they do end up moving. We're here on Sunday Night Football. Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears from Hammond, Indiana? No.
Sign me up, because I really don't care. I'll be honest with you. I think the outrage over this is quite frankly ridiculous. Because the fact of the matter is, again, all those teams you mentioned, it is a longer drive from San Francisco to Santa Clara to go to Levi than it is to go from Soldier Field to where the Bears are going to be potentially playing at in Hammond, Indiana. It is only about a half an hour drive, and they already have train lines set up to go to this potential site. Like, listen, I understand. Oh, they're not going to be playing in downtown Chicago anymore. Soldier Field's iconic. I get all that. This is 2020, and it's going to be 2030. Things are happening fast. More teams are moving into domes. I would say by 2050, every NFL team is more than likely going to be in a dome. And a lot of these teams, you didn't even mention the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to soon be playing in Kansas City, Kansas, not even Kansas City, Missouri. And so, from my perspective, this is going to become normal, especially for NFL teams, for teams that want to host not only Super Bowls, but things like WrestleManias, things like the Final Four, and it's going to work out. And I promise you, this is a great compromise, because it is actually, from what I understand from talking to some of the Bears fans that I know, the Hammond site is closer for them than the proposed Arlington Heights site was. And that was going to be even more of a concern to get in and out of that stadium, because what I also understand currently right now is Soldier Field is the hardest stadium to get in and out of in the NFL. It is a complete mess. It is worse than MetLife. It is worse than SoFi. It's worse than all these other. By the way, LA is another good example. They don't play in Los Angeles. They play down the road in Inglewood, California.
I didn't mention
we're we're all gonna live. It's okay.
that. No, I get what you're saying, but like I'm not saying the Bears should change their name or anything like that. I'm not going to go to that extreme like others have.
See, to me, that's the most important part. As I'll be honest with you, as long as they keep the name, the Chicago Bears, they can play in London for all I care. I really don't care where they play. Just keep the damn name. Like to me, the same people that are outraged over this are the same people that refuse to call the Indians the Guardians, and all these other names like that. That's the company that we're in. Like this to me is nothing. It really isn't.
Look, I understand what you're saying. But it just doesn't sit right with me. The Bears are one of the most historic teams in the NFL. Trust me, I don't love that the Giants play in freaking New Jersey.
Well, that's why you can't move them from Chicago to Los Angeles. But you can move them from Chicago a half an hour more drive to Hammond, Indiana.
It just
if it was the Bears completely moving states and they were changing their name and they were ripping them out of the city like they did the Browns in '95, yeah, that would be an outrage, and it may even cause the city to burn down. Like you're getting a better stadium, better facilities, more primetime games because Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson are going to be there, hopefully for their sake, for a decade. More events. And right now, by the way, Chicago, they obviously have Allstate Arena. They have the United Center. Like they have a bunch of arenas. They are not set up for indoor events that would be a great host city to do so. And from what I also understand, Indiana is one of the fastest growing states in the country.
Yeah, but Indiana already has the Indianapolis Colts.
By the way, they're completely separate from the Colts. Like this is nowhere near downtown Indianapolis, nowhere near Lucas Oil. And the Colts signed up on it. Apparently they're going to help with this. They're like, great, we welcome it.
Which I think is crazy, but to each his own, I guess. But it's not even about Soldier Field for me. Like, okay, Soldier Field doesn't work. That's fine. Being in downtown Chicago, if that doesn't work, fine. But moving out of the state of Illinois, that's where it's like, I'm not okay with it.
Well, by the way, and I do not want to get into politics at all on this, but this part is true. If you want to blame anybody for that, you can blame the Illinois governor because he flat out said, I will not allow the citizens of my city to pay taxes for a sporting event for a new stadium. That's why they're moving to Indiana. It's not the Bears. I'm sure the Bears would love to stay in Chicago. They need a new stadium. Soldier Field is falling apart. This was the best option for both sides.
No, trust me, I understand that. Politics is driving a lot of the stadium and arena movement that we're seeing. Hell, in the NHL, the Dallas Stars are probably going to move out of American Airlines Center and move out of Dallas and go up to Plano, Texas.
Well, I also want to be clear, just for the viewers at home. This is not a Democrat issue. This is not a Republican issue. This is just pure facts. These sporting venues are getting more expensive to build, and more people want them so they can host more events.
Absolutely. But just because you build a brand new dome stadium doesn't mean you're going to host the Super Bowl. It doesn't mean you're going to host WrestleMania. It doesn't,
but it gives you a way better chance.
Right. But like Minnesota, for example, built their new dome stadium. They've only hosted the Super Bowl once.
They got it. They got it. I mean, yes. You may only get it once, but you got it, and it was worth it.
Yes, but they've only hosted the men's Final Four once. They have not hosted WrestleMania. Granted, they are hosting SummerSlam. I get it. But
Well, they were
still,
supposed to host WrestleMania. They got screwed out of it. That's not their fault.
true.